Great stuff. Okay, good morning everyone. Welcome to Breckland Council's Cabinet meeting on Monday the 25th of July. Everyone is most welcome to be here. We are live broadcasting. We'll crack on with item 1 then, which is the minutes of the previous meeting held on the 6th of June, found in pages 4 to 8 of members' agenda packs. Are colleagues happy that they're a true and accurate record?
Great.
Thank you very much. Teresa, apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. We've had apologies from Councillor Hewitt this morning.
Thank you. Item 3, urgent business. I haven't received any. I'm looking at officers and they're shaking their heads, which is great. Item 4, declarations of interest. If any members have any interest to declare, please do so at the right moment in time. Item 5, non-members wishing to address the meeting. You are all once again most welcome. Item 6, Chairman's announcements. I just want to state for the minutes my thanks on behalf of residents and the community of Breckland and the County of Norfolk for the heroism which have been displayed by Norfolk Fire and Rescue Service over the previous 2 weeks in what have been some incredible conditions that they've been operating in and across with all the blue light services across this fine county. And today on Norfolk Day, I think it's a really prominent point to remember everybody in public service who ultimately is willing to place their life on the line to protect lives and properties across the country. And of course, in turn of what's been taking place across the County of Norfolk, those voluntary organisations such as the Red Cross, the Voluntary Support 4x4 Group, and so many others who have been supporting those who have found themselves in some devastating circumstances. And of course, the Herculean effort of Ash Hill community. I had the privilege to be there on Friday with the Chief Constable, the Vice Chairman of the Parish Council, and many people in that community who have been undertaking some incredible works in such a short space of time, wrapping themselves around those individuals and families who've been impacted. And just to see that community spirit and seeing an incredible turnout to the congregation on Sunday in Ash Hill at their church service, it is really heart welcoming. Breckland officers are working continuously with the parish council and the blue light services and social housing providers and private housing providers to support those families directly impacted. Our community officers were out on the ground on Wednesday morning, right the way through the week, and once again supporting the community in Ash Hill with the donations which have been received in an incredible amount and will continue to do so. So just want for the minutes of the meetings, Teresa, to state my thanks on behalf of the residents and businesses of Norfolk for everybody who has gone above and beyond over these last 2 weeks. Item 7 then, we're going to move on to Breckland Community funded applications. Councillor Webb, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Okay, today I've got quite a few announcements, which is really good news. To start with, the bursaries. 9 out of 10 of our bursaries have now been awarded, which is a fantastic result. It's one of those things, as I said, which we recognise when we look at the applications coming forward. It's really helping people move forward with their development in Breckland, and it's something we should be proud of. I also have the match funding results today for the first round. The Inspiring Communities Programme 2023 has been run across our 4 decision rounds with £30,000 available in each. The programme aims to support community projects that can demonstrate that they address identified community needs and align with Breckland Council's Inspiring Communities outcomes. So for this round, we have actually authorised today £27,871, which is an amazing amount. There has been quite a high amount of applications. Some of the applications are being returned for more information and they will be took forward to the next round. So the first one I'd like to announce is for the first Beatley Scout Group, £661. Councillor Roger Attewell and Councillor Richard Duffield support those one here. The grant will contribute to the cost of installing a bouldering wall at the group's premises on the outskirts of Beatley. Once installed, the wall will be used weekly, weather permitting, by the group's 78 members. It's also going to be made by arrangements to other local youth clubs, such as the Guides. The wall will enhance the group's facilities, and there are also other plans in development, including building a roundhouse with assistance from Gresson Hall Museum. The next one is Carbrook Village Millennium Green, £1,462. This was supported by Councillor Helen Crane. The grant will be used to restore the wildflower areas of the green, which have been neglected and overrun with grasses. The project will also see the children's maze restored. The maze was established over 20 years ago with mostly dogwood, which has become overgrown and needs mechanical help to reduce the height to a manageable level. The third one we have is Caston Village Hall. This is supported by Councillor Philip Cowan. The Village Hall is currently building a new community room at the hall, and as part of the upgrade, would like to purchase 60 new chairs and 2 chair trolleys. The hall is being used by Caston Parish Council, Stowbeeding Parish Council, Caston's Women's Institute, Caston's Art Group, Caston Jiu-Jitsu Club, sorry about that, and Caston Parochial Church Council. This was supported by Councillor Philip Cowan, as I said. The next one is for Dereham Baptist Church. Councillor Philip Morton and myself supported this one. It's for £5,000 and contributes to the running of the debt centre during the 2022-23 financial year. The centre aims to work with 2 clients and their families per month to fully process debt management, counselling, and set on a course to be debt-free and with an agreed sustainable budget forward. It's also helping towards the money course, which is a preventative tool to help people prioritise essential bills and develop more confidence in dealing with money and budgeting, and a befriending scheme through which a volunteer provides personal support to clients. There's also limited emergency direct financial support, for example, phones, mobile phones, reconnecting electricity, and providing food vouchers. Next, we have the Wellspring Family Centre. Councillor Linda Monument supported this one. Wellspring Family Centre provides community projects addressing the key social needs in Dereham. It directly runs Welcome Helping People from Mental Illness, Elevate, providing support for people living with the effects of ME, chronic fatigue syndrome, long COVID, and the Little Lambs, befriending and supporting parents, grandparents and carers of babies and toddlers. This will help the running costs of the project over the 12-month period from July 2022. So the next one I have is Dereham Hockey Club, £5,000. I supported this one. The planting around the board of the hockey club will restrict light from the floodlights and noise from sports activities affecting neighbouring houses. The planting will benefit approximately 30 households that back onto the hockey club. The work will help to improve relationships with local residents and the club. The planting will also make the facility a more attractive outdoor environment to play sport in. Next, we have the Prism Start Communities, 4,974, supported by Councillor Susan Dowling. Prism Start will provide support to 15 ex-offenders who currently serve custodial sentences and who are due for release in Norfolk, and adults who have recent experience of the judicial system and who have other present complex needs. Each participant will receive a support package, which includes a minimum of 4 support and assessment sessions to explore key themes relation to providing chances, improving the chances of recovery and rehabilitation. Then we have the last one, which is the Friends of Fakenham Area Community First Responder Team Group, Gordon, 3,500, and it's supported by Councillor Gordon Bambridge. This grant would be used to buy a life-saving kit for the Brecon Community First Responders. Each kit includes a life-saving defibrillator, oxygen cylinder, pulse oximeter, blood pressure monitor, temperature monitor, mobile phone, magnetic car signs, uniform responder bikes, and a load of other stuff, which I won't read it all through, but really it is everything. The cost of the kit is £3,543, including the phone, which includes the ambulance sat nav. tracks the responder's location, has an emergency button allowing the fastest possible response. All of the kit is purchased through and supplied by the East of Anglia Air Ambulance. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. The next round of Breckland funding will open on the 15th of September. I encourage you all to look at your community groups and apply. As I said, this is an amazing time, an amazing thing that you can get for match funding. And thank you very much, Chairman.
Lovely, thank you, Councillor. Any questions or comments from colleagues? I've got Councillor Cowan, then Councillor Crane, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Alison, for your team's efforts in assessing those grants. I know that as I represent, as does Sarah, Stow Eden Breckles and Carston Parish Councils, the additional work that's being carried out in the village hall at Carston will enable that building to be used even more intensively than it currently is. It's an ideal location which draws in people from outlying villages as well. So once again, thank you very much to you and the team.
Thank you, Councillor Crane.
Thank you very much. Yes, I'd like to add my thanks to the Community Foundation and your team. Alison, I didn't actually know this was going to be announced this morning, so it's a really wonderful surprise. It will be really welcomed. It's a wonderful area of Carbrook. It's not just used by the villagers of Carbrook, it's used by a lot of people in the surrounding Wotton and other villages. And if you're ever that way, I urge you to call in because it's beautiful.
Thank you, Councillor Bambridge.
Thank you. Members will know of my long-term support for organisations like first responders, NARS, the air ambulance and so on. So I do just want to say thank you for the opening up of first responders in this fairly remote area of North Norfolk that covers between Foxley and Brisley, and I think a 5-mile radius. So we're very grateful. It will be a huge addition to these communities. Thank you.
Lovely. If there's nobody else at all, then thank you very much, Councillor Webb. So move on to item 8 then, which is the Breckland Local Plan Review. And I'll pass to Councillor Sarah Suggett to present, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Members will be aware that the adopted Breckland Local Plan included policy INF03 that required the council to undertake a partial review of the plan with regard to 4 issues, which were housing, gypsy and travellers, accessibility of home standards, and economic development relating to the proposed dualling of the A47 near Dereham. Since the adoption, the council has considered a number of options available to it in respect of the review of the plan, both in June 2020 and again in November 2021. This culminated in the council agreeing to undertake both a partial review of policy INF03 and a full update of the whole plan and the timetables for this work. The report sets out the key issues and changes that occurred since the plan was adopted that informed these council's considerations and its decision. These are detailed in the topic paper that accompanies this report, and in summary, these are uncertainty and delays to the publication of the housing needs standard method figures, delays to the A47 improvements near Dereham, a legal challenge to the definition of gypsies and travellers, the need for a clearer understanding of the implications of COVID-19, an updated national planning policy framework, proposed reforms to the planning system and the introduction of the Levelling Up and Regeneration Bill to Parliament, nutrient neutrality and the implications of the Environment Act. This has resulted in the preparation of a background paper that details these issues, as well as a formal consultation document that sets out the detailed wording changes proposed to policy INF03. And these are accompanied by an integrated assessment report. Cabinet is being asked to approve the publication of the local plan partial review as set out in Appendix A of the report and invite representations on this review document together with the integrated assessment for a 6-week period. Following the receipt of representations, it is intended that Cabinet will be asked to submit the plan for examination. In order to ensure compliance with the provisions of policy INF03, this will need to be no later than the end of November 2022. Work is continuing on the full update of the whole plan that by its nature will cover a broad range of issues which will, amongst other matters, extend the plan period and address development needs for that period. In terms of the appropriate period for the council, for the full update, the local plan review should cover the period 2020 to 2046. The current local development scheme states that the update will be adopted in 2027. The plan periods are usually based on 5-year periods and is therefore recommended that the plan period be extended to 2046. Whilst this will have implications for the amount of development to be provided for, it would allow for greater certainty over a long period of time and would help the council to demonstrate that it is planning positively. Members will recall we had a briefing a couple of weeks ago where officers explained the report and answered questions. And I'd like to thank members who were present and have been in touch and have been engaged throughout this process. Cabinet is therefore asked to approve the plan period for the update as 2020 to 2046 in accordance with the National Planning Policy Framework and approved timetable. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. Anything from you, Andrew? Simon? Andrew? Okay, open up to the floor for questions or comments then. No, they've got Councillor Wilkinson, please.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, I'll just put a comment in really rather than a question that I welcome the government's delay in the white paper for planning. On the other hand, they do expect all councils across England and Wales to put in their local plan. And I think that's what they're waiting for. I think if they find a good local plan like we seem to be putting together, then I think they will leave it to the districts, to the authorities, and it will then enable us to retain our own plan and retain our own plans we have for putting buildings in Brecon where we feel they should be.
Lovely, thank you. If there are no other questions or comments, and so if you want to move the recommendations.
Thank you. I'd like to recommend that Cabinet approve the publication of the local plan partial review as set out in Appendix A of this report, agree to publish and invite representations upon the local plan partial review document together with the integrated assessment of the Brecon local partial review for a 6-week period in accordance with Regulation 19 of the Town and Country Planning Regulations 2012, and that the appropriate period for the full update, the local plan review, should cover the period 2021 to 2046.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. Right, we'll move on to item 9, which is the Brecon Statement of Community Involvement. Councillor Suggett to present again, please.
Thank you. So the Council's adopted Statement of Community Involvement 2013 needs to be updated to take into account legislative changes relating to data protection, neighbourhood planning, proposed planning reform, which is currently delayed, as well as to support the preparation of the local plan review. An updated Statement of Community Involvement is set out in Appendix 1. We had a total of 141 representations from 23 statutory consultees, as well as from residents and other organisations within the district. Statutory consultees which represented include Natural England, Historic England, Norfolk County Council, and many town and parish councils. Many of the representations we received indicated support for neighbourhood planning, highlighted in particular the importance of future consultation on draft neighbourhood plans. The Statement of Community Involvement has been amended to provide additional information on neighbourhood development orders and clarify the statutory and discretionary responsibilities of the District Council and qualifying body. In respect of local plans, the Statement of Community Involvement has been revised to include a commitment to work with town and parish councils, to attend meetings where possible, particularly where they can be grouped or where there is a recognised policy issue of local significance, add some organisations to the list of key stakeholders, and in order to try and broaden the consultation, Reach the Council has invested a new online engagement platform that will, via an app, allow the council to connect with the whole community and allows for continual updates on the progress of the plan update and seek comments. And in respect of the development management, the Statement of Community Involvement has been amended to provide further information on material considerations, the role of Chairman's panel and delegated decisions, and charging for their pre-application discussions, and a definition of what major developments are. And Cabinet is asked to approve the Statement of Community Involvement in respect of plan making and development management. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Any questions? Sorry, Andrew, anything? Simon, Andrew, any questions or comments from colleagues? Councillor Burt.
Thank you, Chairman. Could I take you to page 254, which identifies business sector as a specific group within our community, and it's noted that the self-employed need support to get involved. Now, I'm a freelance electronics design engineer, so I very much fall into that category of self-employed, and I know a number of I have a number of colleagues who work throughout Norfolk in similar lines, and I've never ever had any contact in that business capacity. So I'm wondering how we are going to target this group, and what support are we putting in place to actually ensure that they do get involved?
Thank you. Andrew Holsworth or Simon?
Thank you. Yeah, too many people. Yeah, too many Andrews over here. Yes, we will engage with if anybody or any groups or individuals or business interests or collection of business interests wish to be better engaged in the process. They simply just need to let us know, and we will make sure that they are kept in the loop as things go forward.
What we are seeking to do, though, through the local plan process is to identify those groups that we haven't traditionally engaged with, and to make sure that we have that engagement strategy in place, that communication strategy in place, so that people like yourself, sole operators, small businesses are identified. And I think the way forward on that is to be working with our colleagues in economic regeneration, teams like that, so that we have that reach out there. I know a lot of work was done during COVID to identify small businesses, and we can piggyback on a lot of that work as well.
So, Andrew, just on that, so obviously we hold a database for those consultees who have informed through the process. Are we able to add people like the Norfolk Chamber of Commerce and the FSB to those organisations? Now, Councillor Burt's questions in relation to small and self-employed, we won't always have that data capture, but maybe working with some of those nationally recognised organisations, maybe they can be that push information flow to their data set for those organisations working in the district. I don't know if that would be possible. I don't think we'll be able to mitigate Councillor Burt's question in entirety, because we won't have the data for every single individual, but of course using our website and our data push, maybe that will be a suitable compromise.
Yeah, I see no reason why we shouldn't be able to do that and make contact with those groups.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor Cowan, please.
Thank you, Leader, and thanks for that, Sarah. I was going to raise a very similar point, and it's partly been answered already. But of course, during COVID, we learned that actually working from home is a perfectly normal and acceptable way of carrying out business, which really built on actually a number of businesses where people do operate from home offices and they don't pay business rates because they don't have to. But they still work as businesses and contribute to the economy in one form or another. And of course, a number of those businesses will not be captured through any of the data that we have that's available to us. All I would urge is that in communicating the desires that we have through the local plan, that somehow we try and capture those individuals who run small businesses in the community, in the rural areas in particular, so that knowledge and information can be brought into play when we finalise the local plan. Thank you.
Councillor Banbridge.
Thank you, Chairman. I mean, this is slightly apocryphal, but at the Royal Norfolk Show, I was talking to people on the stand of the Federation of Small Businesses, and certainly one of the persons I was speaking to was well aware of it because we did discuss it. So I think whether it's been done officially or not, the news is getting out there.
Great, thank you. Is there no other questions then? Councillor Suggett, can you read the recommendation?
Thank you. I'd like to move the recommendation that the statement of community involvement is approved and adopted in respect of plan making and development management.
Thank you. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you very much. So let's move on to the next item, item 10, which is NNDR discretionary relief. Councillor Cowan to present, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As members will be aware, this council is committed to economic growth across the district through the encouragement of new enterprise that will assist in lifting wage levels of the workforce and therefore the standard of living of our residents. However, in these challenging times, we need to do more to sell those opportunities to existing and new businesses alike. In common with other local authorities, we introduced a local discretionary rate relief scheme in 2019, and thus far, just short of £190,000 has been granted to those businesses. Since 2019, we have been successful in attracting funding to enhance the provision of electrical infrastructure to both Thetford and Snetterton, thereby unleashing potential for significant growth in employment in the district. The paper before us today seeks to build upon and expand the potential for rate relief through 3 additional strands. The addition of enhanced provision for businesses seeking to relocate or expand within identified growth locations, for example, the Snetterton Heath employment zone, amending the assessment criteria for awarding relief, and updating the 2019 policy to reflect legislative changes. Having developed the infrastructure that will see the increase in electricity supply, it is imperative that we seek to compete on a more equal footing with other parts of the region to remain competitive in the marketplace and realise the potential of these infrastructure investments. These amended policies before us today are aimed at doing just that. I'm asking today that Cabinet approves the establishment of growth locations, the criteria for awarding LDDR, and the application and assessment process. And further, that Cabinet recommends to Council that the proposed updates and additions to the LDDR policy are approved, that the Snetterton Heath employment zone is recognised as a growth location, and that authority is delegated to the Executive Member for Economic Development and Growth and the Executive Member for Finance, Revenue and Benefits to define additional growth locations in the future. And finally, that authority be delegated to the Assistant Director for Economy and Growth and the Assistant Director for Finance to update the LDDR policy in line with any future legislative changes. Details of all the items referred to above are contained in Appendix 1 on pages 289 to 292 of the Cabinet papers. Thank you, Chairman.
Lovely. Thanks, Councillor Cowan. Yep, Councillor Clausen, please.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Just to echo what Phil said, and I won't use the technical language that he has, because basically what it's doing is allowing us to be more competitive in attracting business into our district, which at this time is absolutely vital. And it's not, yeah, it's something we probably should have done years ago. So I thoroughly recommend this to Cabinet.
Thanks, Councillor Cowan. Councillor Holter, I beg your pardon. Wow, that's a, yeah, sorry about that. Andrew, good, that Freudian slip. Question or comments from colleagues at all? Councillor Burt.
Thank you, Chairman. I've got a couple of queries, if I may. So I'll start with a more general one to start with. And I can't see in the pack any commentary about how we're going to measure the effect of LLRR and the interventions that are being put in place. So a question really is, how many businesses can we expect to locate that would not otherwise have done so? And how are we going to measure that?
Have you got a couple of questions? If you want to feed them in, then
I have. My second question is a bit more specific. On page 290, the last bullet point on that page talks about decarbonisation and net zero. And it asks businesses to align with the national policy. But surely they have to do that anyway, because it's national policy. Shouldn't we be requiring them to align with the Breckland policies? You know, and be targeting our net zero by 2035.
Super, thanks. Looking at Ian for one of the questions shortly, but Andrew, do you want to respond to question 1 in relation to effective intervention and data?
Certainly, Sam. So as set out in the report, the previous policy that's been operational since 2019 was successful in securing 2 investments. We believe, and part of the reason for making this changes is that we can create a policy that is able to encourage significantly more investment than that. The notion of specifically tying particular support around the growth location for Snetterton, as Councillor Cowan indicated, follows the capital investment that will be completed in the substation, which should go online early in the new year. In terms of the metrics that we anticipate being able to report back on it, but those are the ones that have come from the policy. So they will be things like new jobs created, new floor space created, and what we hope to achieve through this is to be able to demonstrate that it's not just new jobs that are being created, but jobs that are able to offer a higher wage and a kind of a significant benefit to the economy. And those are the kind of hard metrics that we'll be looking to measure and track this against. In terms of specific numerical targets, we have not set ourselves those in this context, but we would expect them to be significantly above where the current policy is performing.
Thanks, Andrew. So as laid out in the sort of table at 1.9 at page 285, Tim, we've got that framework of what we're looking for. Now that is done under the discretion and judgment of under delegation at item 3. If we move forward, sorry, item 2, working out where that will be best sat, and the officers and the deputy leader will then work out which businesses we're able to support. Now, part of it isn't just about giving that money, it's that wider package and handholding which the authority offers to all of those businesses. And as Councillor Cowan said, we're continuously learning, and actually we probably should have done this many years ago. So we want to make sure that we're continuously learning to make sure that the decisions we're making as to where to place this investment and money is reaping that reward. So as nearly said it again, as Andrew alluded to, those number of jobs created, that floor space expansion, is that going to be different and impacted depending on the type of industry we are supporting? What is that return to GDP for the county? And in terms of food production, what's the GVA value added for that business as well? So there's lots of metrics we'll use to continuously learn and refine it. But ultimately for us, it's making sure that any business, whether they're existing or wishing to come to the district, knows that Breckland is there to support and be open for growth and investment. And this is one of those tools and a weapon in our army to ensure that businesses are able to grow, businesses are able to invest, and they've got the confidence of the local authority to do that. Now, you appreciate that normally this type of work would take place via Treasury or BAYS or local enterprise partnership. This is some direct localism in which we can control locally as the authority supporting that growth and investment. So I'm really excited to look forward to hearing how this goes over the next couple of months. And as the report's alluded to, the money we've invested previously has impacted and supported 2 businesses directly, which has protected jobs, created growth, created investment, and created certainty. And I'll go to Councillor Sherwood for the decarbonisation vote.
Thank you very much, Leader, and thank you very much, Councillor Burke, for your questions and comments there. As you're probably aware, our own policy as Breckland councillors to look at our own estates until 2035, so that's where we're focusing. But of course, we're working with the local enterprise partnership and other partners and businesses supporting them to look at their own net zero objectives. So we will be doing that, but we're focusing on our net zero target for 2035 on our estate. But obviously businesses and individuals across the whole of Breckland are being encouraged through our schemes to look at their own net zero targets and try and bring those forward from the 2050 government policy. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Councillor Borrett, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really welcome this. I think it's the next step in the long line of things that Breckland has done to encourage economic prosperity. And if you think about Snetterton, we invested in the substation to bring the power there in the first place, which these businesses will need. Now, that was something that Breckland didn't have to do, that it's quite unusual for a district council to spend such an enormous amount of money, but it does show that the council is committed to bringing jobs and economic prosperity to Breckland. And this absolutely is the logical next step for the Snetterton area. and for Breckland as a whole. We are well aware that though unemployment in Breckland is relatively low compared to the national average, that the average wage paid in Breckland is lower compared to other areas. So this sort of scheme to bring new and higher paid jobs to Breckland is absolutely something that our residents need. I really endorse this. This is the next step, and I see that the executive members have been given authority to identify new areas, and I hope that this is just the first of a number of schemes for Breckland. And it just goes to show how dynamic and different Breckland is to a lot of other very similar district councils. So I congratulate Cabinet and I fully support the recommendations.
Lovely, thank you. Any other questions or comments? No. Councillor Cowan, can you read the recommendations, please?
Certainly, Chairman. There are 3 recommendations for us today. The first is recommend to Council that the proposed updates and additions to the LDDR policy are approved. Secondly, it is recommended to Council that the Snetterton Heath Employment Zone is recognised as a growth location and that authority is delegated to the Executive Member for Economic Development and Growth and the Executive Member for Finance, Revenue and Benefits to define additional growth locations in the future. And thirdly, it is recommended to Council that authority be delegated to the Assistant Director for Economy and Growth and the Assistant Director for Finance to update the LDRR policy in line with any future legislative changes.
Lovely, thank you. All those in favour? Thank you, that's unanimous. So we'll move on to item 11, then, which is the new Buckingham neighbourhood plan. Councillor Sarah Suggett to present, please.
Thank you very much. So the new Buckingham neighbourhood plan area was designated in March 2017 and has subsequently been subject to formal public consultation, followed by an independent examination and referendum. This report relates to the final stage in the process, which is to make or adopt the plan to bring the document into effect. The new Buckingham neighbourhood plan is the 8th in Breckland to have reached this final stage in the process, if made, and would become one of almost 1,090 plans to be formally made nationally. The referendum was held on the 7th of July 2022. They had a really good turnout of 44%, of which 92% voted in favour of using the plan to help decide planning applications in the neighbourhood area. The national average in voting for a plan is 89% in favour, with a turnout of just 32%. So they did a really good job at getting a good turnout there. This was an exceptionally high turnout for such a referendum, and it does highlight the hard work and dedication of both the parish council and those who worked on the plan over the past few years. And I would like to thank them for this work and culminating in this high turnout and overwhelming support for the plan. So I therefore ask Cabinet to support the recommendation and to confirm that new Buckingham neighbourhood plan is made as part of the statutory development plan for Breckland Council. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you. Andrew, anything? Simon, Andrew, super. Sarah?
Sorry, my iPad's gone. I've got a comment from Stephen Askew, the ward member, who would have loved to have been here this morning, but Harvest has took priority this morning. But he would just like me to read out that his apologies for not being able to attend, but he is delighted to endorse the new Buckingham neighbourhood plan. Founded in the 12th century, the village was surrounded by a moat attached to the castle, which in places was 9 metres wide and 3 metres deep. I can't help thinking that if this was to be re-established, then it would be the ultimate neighbourhood plan, and planning would be a very simple affair. New Buckingham has largely retained its medieval boundaries and has a large number of Grade 2 listed buildings, so it is important to ensure sensitive planning and development which has been recognised by the parish. The neighbourhood plan is the result of a few years of painstaking and patient work by the team who love their village and wish to ensure it remains and progresses for generations to come to love and to enjoy. It is not all about retaining its historical legacy, as important as it is, but about ensuring the parish has the ability to thrive with sensitive development and modern facilities. The current installation of a phone mast in Old Buckingham, which is so badly needed, should hopefully go some way to achieving this too. Like other parishes before them, New Buckingham recognised that the village is a very special one with a wealth of historical interest and a value as merely temporary custodians. They have a responsibility and duty to ensure a balance is struck so that the parish can grow and modernise while retaining its unique historical value for generations to come. The work culminated in a referendum which just shy of half the parish turns out, and of which a resounding 92% of them endorsed the work which the neighbourhood plan team has done in the interest of New Buckingham. I would like to thank and congratulate New Buckingham neighbourhood plan team for the work they have done alongside Breckland officers to bring this neighbourhood plan to Cabinet today, and I wholeheartedly support and recommend its endorsement. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you for that statement on behalf of Councillor Askew. Any other comments or questions at all? Councillor Bambridge and Councillor Webb.
Yes, thank you. I do fully endorse this. I've always supported the concept of neighbourhood plans, and I am aware of the enormously daunting task it is when a parish takes it on. So congratulations to Councillor Askew and to New Buckingham for that. And I will say well done, and I fully support the work that they've done, and I commend it to other parishes. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, basically, Gordon has just said exactly what I was going to say. But the other thing I want to add is the enthusiasm that has been shown by the New Buckingham team and the actual people, residents who live here. What a high turnout they had, and what amazing results they had. So well done, everybody, and thank you very much to completely endorse. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Councillor Clausen.
Yes. I'd just like to echo everything that's been said so far, and just like to add that it's another example of where it's a bottom-up approach. So we go out and we know what New Buckingham now wants, and it's now going to form part of our own local plan. So that, for me, is a great way to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to thank I think as Councillor Askew mentioned, the community for the Herculean effort. It is a big task to undertake this type of work within a community, and trying to get a community to come together to agree the principles of where it sees its future as. The words were that we are only merely the custodians today, and where we are today with neighbourhood plan for New Buckingham shows where they see their future. And it's really pleasing that neighbourhood plans across the district are still coming forward. I know that there has been some scepticism and some negative challenge around how Breckland perceives neighbourhood plans, but we are wholeheartedly committed to them, and they have a really important part to play in every single one of our communities. And regardless of what is happening at a national level, or what you've heard earlier today with us reviewing our local plan, neighbourhood plans need to still come forward. And our team at Breckland and the member for Cabinet is looking forward to work with other communities who wish to progress neighbourhood plans. And if any member or community is interested in developing a neighbourhood plan and isn't aware of the process, they'd be delighted to contact Andrew Darcy or Councillor Suggett, and they'll happily talk them through the process. If there are other questions or comments, do you like to move the recommendations, please, Sarah?
Thank you. The recommendations are to confirm that the New Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan, as written at the time of the referendum, is made as part of the statutory development plan for Breckland Council, as required by paragraph 4A of section 38A of the 2004 Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act, option 1. Number 2, to publish this decision as required by paragraph 9 of section 38A 2004 Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act. And 3, to advise the New Buckingham Parish Council and any other prescribed persons about this to meet the requirements of paragraph 10 of section 38A of the 2004 Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act, and also to recommend to Council to amend the Breckland District Policies Map to meet the requirements of paragraph 9 Town and Country Local Planning England Regulations 2012. Thank you.
Thank you. Got the 4 recommendations, 3 to Cabinet and 1 to Council. Our colleagues, all those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you. We'll move on to item 12 then, which is the UK Shared Prosperity Fund, and Councillor Clausen present.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So the UK Shared Prosperity Fund is a new fund. and it's part of the levelling up agenda. And we have been allocated £1,621,471, which will be spent by 2025. And the report shows the way in which the spend is profiled. So in the 22-23, it's 196,000, 23-24, it's 393,000, 24-25, it's just over £1 million. The fund comes from government, and government is asking us to look at community in place, supporting local business and people and skills. And it came with about 70 specific areas which the government wanted us to look at. So we have taken those and we have honed them down to 5 areas, which is Breckland skills, our future Breckland and town centre investment work, our low carbon regeneration, our inspiring communities, and our business support and cluster development. Now, these themes are going to be cross-cutting, support each other, and will support all of the work that's going forward with the future Breckland. And as I said, it is very much a bottom-up approach, because we've gone out and consulted with over 20,000 residents for us to know what they want. And indeed, I think we are sort of going very much down, because I was looking at Shane Paul Hewitt isn't here, a methodology of leadership. And one method is a triangle with all of the organization in the triangle and the leader on top of it shouting down. The other is showing the leader within the triangle supporting the rest of the community. And I think, Chairman, that's the leadership that you have shown us. There is considerable detail that sits behind this, and I believe that this is going to give us a huge opportunity going forward of bringing all different strands together. There's the detail, Andrew, if you would be kind enough to take us through the detail and to show colleagues how we envisage this working.
Certainly, thank you, Paul. I will just quickly share a quick few slides on this, just to try and help Cabinet understand the sort of detail of what we're proposing. As you've heard, with UK Shared Prosperity is an opportunity for Breckland to work within the context of some broadly defined priorities set out nationally, and it's our opportunity to define specifically how we would like to see that investment support priorities locally. The requirement from the government is that we're able to submit an outline investment plan, which effectively covers the breadth and the outline of what we're anticipating to do, but with an understanding that the detail and the delivery, and there's some important questions that Breckland will need to answer in due course about how we join up this activity, whether we are commissioning partners to do this, what those partners look like, and the detailed business case that sits behind that. But that is work to follow. What the paper for Cabinet to consider today sets out is the kind of effective framing of that proposed set of interventions. And as Deputy Leaders articulated, our proposed approach is around 5 key areas of support. So one on skills, which as currently framed would enable us to support particularly those economically inactive and vulnerable, but also seek to make interventions around sectors that are high growth potential, like manufacturing and engineering, and linked to decarbonisation and low carbon economy. Another are around future Breckland, which will help us take forward some of the specific actions that work's identified in our town centres, whether that be small capital schemes or events, activities, or the work that's going to enable some of the bigger, more transformational changes. communities as an effective kind of enhancement and evolution of some of the Inspiring Communities work. This would hopefully enable us to take some of what's already happening incredibly successfully, like the food bus and the community supermarket, and grow that and add to it, and add the ability to put additional support alongside that. Low carbon regeneration, which is intended support around helping and proactively enabling businesses to reduce their carbon footprint, whether that's through things like solar or local energy networks. And then finally, business support, which would enable the region to continue to see levels of business support that it does currently. And we think particularly could be helpfully supported around some areas of particular priority, like manufacturing and low carbon. One of the reasons I think Paul asked me to do a few slides on this is to try and just articulate that written in reports like this, it does feel a bit linear and a bit sort of unconnected, but the thinking and the planning behind our proposed investment approach is that it is very connected, and that within each of these groups, there's actually a lot of interrelation. So a lot of the work that we would propose being able to do with businesses in terms of helping them grow would link very explicitly back to the skills piece. Similarly, the work around low carbon would be intended to have very much a community benefit, as well as a direct business benefit, and also a direct skills benefit, as we would be hoping to increase the amount of people working in those sectors. And yeah, Future Breckland is kind of a key underpinning piece of this across the piece. Just to make the point also that we have endeavoured throughout our thinking around this to link this back very explicitly to the areas that are already identified priority for the council. So most of, if not all of this activity maps against work and priorities already identified in the council's plan, and it would effectively enable us to do more at scale, and to bring forward investment and priorities as we move forward. The report outlines some of the areas of expected benefit. These will be turned into numerical targets as we work through the requirements with DLUC, but members should expect to see from this new jobs, new businesses created, as well as safeguarding existing. New training opportunities created, an increase in footfall to high streets, an increase in visitors, and a reduction in high street vacancy rates. Creation of new businesses through entrepreneurialism, new volunteers and new people accessing work opportunities, as well as a number of people who are currently either inactive or vulnerable being able to be supported back into work. And finally, we anticipate being able to demonstrate significant impacts in terms of the amount of low carbon infrastructure that's in place across the district, with a particular focus on business estates. That's my kind of quick précis. Obviously, we're happy to take any questions.
So the other thing I would just like to bring to your attention, Chairman, is the Future Brecon Board, the proposal around that. And that again will be bringing many strands together, because we will be bringing together other public sector bodies. We will be bringing together business into it. We will be bringing the voluntary sector into it, and we will be bringing employment into it, skills as well. So we're looking at the Breckland board to be driving this forward under your leadership, Chairman. And so that will be part of the proposal as well. And I think that will put us into a brilliant position within very short order. Thank you, Chairman.
Lovely, thank you. Any questions or comments from colleagues, please? I've got Councillor Wilkinson and Councillor Burt, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. I think this is vital work, and it's been needed for a little while now, and we're fortunate to have the funding now from government to do this. Back in 2016-17, I think the Government Audit Office identified Breckland as a migration district for work, leaving the district, going outside the district, living in the district, but going outside the district for work. So that's going to obviously help with stopping us being a migration area for work and bringing work in, obviously. So it's a good project, and looking forward to see it develop.
Thank you, Chairman. interesting in the brief presentation that there's only one arrow that's pointing to the low carbon side of things. Can I take you to page 372, which is this low carbon regeneration? And there's a lot of words in that little tiny section which sort of feel a bit salesy, don't really actually drill down into any detail. So can you tell us exactly what the series of related interventions is and how much they're going to cost?
Councillor Burke, if you actually read through the report, you will see that this report states that the detail will follow on. So if you want us to tell you what the detail is now, frankly, we can't, because we haven't done it. The work is to be done. This is setting the work in train. I don't know why you want to get to the end before we start. Thank you.
Can I come back, Chairman, please? We opened this up by saying that there's a considerable amount of detail that sits behind this. And really all I'm asking for is a resume of that considerable amount of detail. I'm not asking for the end game. I just want a little bit more detail in this area.
Thank you, Chairman. I welcome this report, particularly following on from the discretionary relief report that I provided earlier. The two will work hand in hand to enable us to do exactly what we were trying to do with the discretionary relief. It's enabling us to drive investment. It's enabling us to attract new business, new enterprise, new technology, and particularly on the low carbon side, look at how we can develop industries and businesses in Breckland that will take advantage of various grants that are out there in the public domain and yet to be announced regarding low energy investment. This is something to be celebrated, I believe, for Breckland, and working in parallel with the development of our new local plan. I think we're seeing today at Cabinet a significant joining up of various strands of economic improvement and growth for the businesses, the residents of today and the future in Breckland. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, Leader. Yeah, I'll just come back reading the report. There's a big section on there on low carbon regeneration and working with the UK SPF, and this is obviously going to conclude, and you have got it in the report, and it's telling you what you're doing, everything you can, and we'll be working alongside businesses with reducing the supporting reducing the carbonisation.
Thank you. Just to come back, and apologies if that was a fault in my presentation start. There were 4 arrows down from the low carbon, but I perhaps didn't articulate that when I went through it. But because the intention is that all of these should be significantly interlinked. I guess has already been set out. We are, particularly because a lot of this investment is about 2 years down the line, we're not able to be sort of at the full business case level in terms of what these interventions will look like. But as the paper alludes to, the assumption around low carbon regeneration, that will enable us to do a few things. So bring in specific capacity, expertise and resource that will be able to work with businesses directly to help create solutions for them to decarbonise. Something we are very aware of is there are some really excellent pockets of support out there in terms of grants and other activity. But what a lot of our businesses tell us is that they kind of struggle to see their way through that, and they struggle to see how to create that something tangible at their individual business level. We've also had a lot of feedback from businesses at a slightly more global scale that they would look to make co-investments in bigger things across whole estates if someone could help kind of do the work around that to help them see how that would work. So a key piece of this, we think, will be around bringing in some good technical expertise that can work business to business level. As the report sets out, this is majority revenue funding, but there is capital available to it. And we would anticipate that part of a low carbon solution would again be kind of some financial incentivization and opportunities to help businesses make those investment cases themselves. And then in terms of the links to skills, the aspiration would be to work with skills providers, but also with businesses as well, to help increase the amount of training and specific activity around people who are skilled either in the work of decarbonisation or in ways that businesses can work in that low carbon sector. And this has come again from feedback both from training providers but also from local businesses. That's the kind of outline thinking at the moment, but we would not want to be sort of hampered by being too specific now where we don't have to be. Hope that helps.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, just goes to show the government has put its money where its mouth is. It said that there's money for levelling up, and we've been allocated in Breckland £1.6 million, which is fantastic. And lots of people said it was all hot air, but actually that's money we can actually spend. I do think some councils are going to have trouble getting their ducks in a row by the 1st of August, but it's really good to hear that Breckland is on the front foot. And I think that just goes back to show that we have already been investing and focusing in this area anyway, so we can pull forward some of our original thinking. And it's great also that the money has got to be spent within quite a short time frame, so that we could be looked to delivering some real benefits in a very short space of time. So I congratulate Breckland for being so organised and on the ball. This is exactly what we were talking about. This is exactly one of the priorities of the council. And I would like to thank the government for its support. And I'm really glad to see this paper here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I thought I just ought to say that certainly every cabinet member on this council, and I had understood every member was well aware that this council is absolutely committed to decarbonisation. Every decision we make as a cabinet on moving forward or changing or deciding on something always has decarbonisation at its top and centre. And that's something that we've been running with for quite some time. And therefore, I think that whilst it may apparently have a lower emphasis in this, I don't actually see it as a lower emphasis. It's certainly there, and it certainly will be considered, as is said in the very first proposal we have to make, sorry, the second proposal, that there will be finalisation of the submission of the Breckland's investment plan to DLUHC. So I think it is actually covered in the document we have before us.
Thanks. Can I just say my appreciation to yourself, Andrew, and the team, but more importantly, businesses across the whole of Breckland have engaged so positively with us over the previous months and years through the national pandemic. And I'm really pleased and echo Councillor Borrett's comments that government has recognised that district councils are the best placed out of any other part of government to get the money out where it's needed most. This 1.6 million to Breckland is that wider package of 2.6 billion, which they're committed through UK SPF. And that recognises that district councils support 40% of England's businesses, and that's 1/3 of the UK economic output. And the UK SPF delivered for us locally at Breckland will absolutely enshrine that we're the avant-garde, using our foresight of when we delivered and committed to our Future Brecklands programme back in 2019, that we're able to move at pace and ensure that we're able to put that submission ahead of TLOC to ensure that money's drawn down and we're spending it in the right place, using our evidence basis, using our relationships and nudging those further conversations to support economic and investment across the whole of the district in those themes. I'm really buoyed up by this. It isn't going to change the world. I absolutely acknowledge that, but 1.6 million will go some way to continue to give confidence to everybody across the whole of the district that Breckland Council is supporting them through growth, investment, change, and everything else, which leads directly into our manifesto commitment we made back in May of 2019 to every resident and every business in our community. So thank you to Paul and the team for making sure that this was pulled together at such pace. If there are no other questions or comments, Councillor Morton.
Thank you, Chairman. I just wondered, the investment plan is going forward on the 1st of August. When will that be released to members?
So the investment plan is a series of web links and web boxes. As soon as we're able to extract it in a form that's shareable to members, we'd be more than happy to do so.
Great, thank you. Councillor Clowes, can you move the 4 recommendations, please?
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I just got 4. Council as well, yeah. Thank you. Recommendations on page 370. The recommendations to Cabinet are that 1, Cabinet supports the proposed approach to utilising UK shared prosperity in Breckland and recommends the Council to accept all related grant funding available to Breckland. 2, delegation be given to the Chief Executive in consultation with the leader for the finalisation and submission of Breckland's investment plan to the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities. And 3, Cabinet delegates to the Assistant Director of Economy and Growth in consultation, they still fit, with myself, the administration, delivery and operation of the fund. And 4, Cabinet supports the proposed creation of a future Breckland board and recommends to Council that Breckland appoints the leader and chief executive to this body.
We're doing the final 2. Yep, and the final 2 to Council as well, please.
And the final 2 to Council. So 5, to accept all related grant funding available to Breckland utilising the UK shared prosperity. And 6, Breckland appoints the leader and chief executive to the future Breckland board as and when it is formed. And those final 2 were recommendations for full Council.
Lovely, thank you. So we've got those 4 recommendations from Cabinet and 2 recommendations to full Council as been verbalised. All those in favour? Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Let's move on to item 13, which is to note the minutes of the Anglia Revenues Partnership held on the 21st of June. Anybody wish to make any comments? No, thank you. Item 14 then, date of the next meeting will be held on Monday, the 19th of September in Thetford. That will start, of course, with public questions taking place at 9:30, and then the formal meeting will then commence at 10 AM.